This 4th of July, as we celebrate 250 years, I wanted to make a special recording about how important it has been for me as a Brazilian citizen to have become a U.S. citizen. It was a choice I made. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of time, effort, and money. We had to go through a lot of hoops. My father immigrated to the United States when I was very little, and I lived my first 13 years of life in the US. We returned to Brazil when I was 15, which is when I learned to read and write in Portuguese. And I eventually became a citizen of my own choice as an adult when I immigrated much later. And having had the opportunity to grow up in Texas, and I'm still a Texan, gave me other opportunities I would never have had in other ways. The fact that I'm a native speaker of English gave me a profession, because when I was younger and I was trying to get myself through school, I could do translations and interpretation. Because I'm totally bilingual English Portuguese. It took me 2 years to become bilingual in Portuguese, but I made it. It has also opened doors for me around the world in conferences, books, opportunities to participate in events that I would not have had otherwise. I love this country deeply. I have learned from its values. The founding fathers and their stories are so amazing. I have learned to appreciate how the political system was set up. It wasn't until more recently, when there was all these problems with, electoral college and representation. And although I had studied this in school, it wasn't until I was in Brazil during some of these elections that I was able to explain to others how this worked and why this wasn't just a majority vote, because it was so fair. I know it sounds complicated, but it's so fair that not 3 states can elect a president. It has to be done much, much more democratically. I think the values that I grew up with, I remember things from grade school, like praying in schools. I remember when it stopped as well. And I remember how the honor code is so important. If you give your word, it's your honor code, and how important that was. I learned all of these things growing up in the United States. And I learned from the generosity of the people around me. The American people are so generous. And the Texans are especially hospitable. They are just really offering hospitality and willingness to help. I remember as a 6-year-old, we had just arrived back in the United States, and the neighbors had come over in the afternoon to bring us cookies because they wanted us to be welcome in the neighborhood. And mind you, not only were we new in the neighborhood, we were foreigners, and not always foreigners were as welcome as we were then. That was just really, really, really amazing. And I have a lot of gratitude for those neighbors whom I don't even know, whom I don't even remember. But in Bedford, Texas, when I got up from that red couch in my living room that somebody had donated, my mother was there in the living room with all of the other ladies, and she was struggling through with her, English, and being appreciative of the fact that people had come over. They cared enough about us to come over. In 3 months playing with their kids, I learned English again, because I'd come as a 2-year-old and gone home as a 4-year-old. And the fact that I was able to do so much schooling in the United States was also a blessing. I became a citizen. I had learned to pledge allegiance to the flag from first grade, so learning all of that and passing my citizenship test was not a great challenge. But getting all of the paperwork together and going through all of the steps that made it possible, paying my taxes on time all these years, and vaccinations and tests and all sorts of things. It was a very worthwhile process. Being a U.S. citizen is something I'm very proud of. I would gladly go back to live in the States if that opportunity arrives again, due to our own family situation, which is something that could happen very easily again. But I'm just very grateful to the Lord that He has given me the opportunity to become a U.S. citizen. I remember that day. I remember the day I went down there and pledged the allegiance officially, my first time as a U.S. citizen. So I just wanted to share this as an immigrant, as a Brazilian American citizen, somebody who came to this country because my father loved this country. My father loved this country. And he went back to Brazil for many years and eventually returned to the United States. And he died and, is buried there in a sense. And I remember him telling me how much he appreciated so many of the values that had brought him to the U.S. and that had kept him there and made him come back. So for many of you who still don't understand the value of U.S. citizenship, I just wanted to share my story. It moves me to this day that this country is so big, and yet we can all pull together when we need to, and Americans do. And not only that, how many other countries have seen U.S. citizens, come and help. I'm working with the people in Venezuela right now. It's right up the street. I live in Brazil right now. And I see how much the U.S. is already contributing in helping people who have come through the earthquakes. This is 2026, obviously, and how many people have passed away and how we're going to be able to help them. And I'm very proud of my country, and I hope that hopefully before the Lord calls me home, I'll get a chance to come back and live there again. Make it a point in your life to be proud to be an American.